Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. As you know, the Sonoma Spiel, each week we have captivating, amazing, wonderful guests. They're talking about things that'll blow your mind. They're fantastic. This week, listeners, spring starting. You know, it was still winter. I know I was talking about snow on the hills, but now everything's green. It's really beautiful. I went to the farmer's market today. I got my coffee from Yeehaw Coffee. Inside note, Timothy edits these podcasts, so good job. And then I saw the people from Baker and Cook. I got a taco from Costa Taco. The Friday morning farmers market is a great one here in Sonoma, and there's so many chances to get great stuff. But we don't want to talk about farmers markets all the time. We want to talk about our guests. And hey, this week, everybody, I have some very special guests. I know every week I say, hey, very special guests. This time I actually mean it. They're from the Sonoma Valley Authors Festival, which is coming up. We're going to hear all about it, and I'd like to introduce Ginny and David. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hi.
Tim, excellent. Great to be here.
Good.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thanks for coming up. Thanks for coming all the way down from Kenwood, I hear, is where you live, which is
yeah, a lot
so
of traffic.
far away.
A lot of traffic.
Right. Well, you guys can probably see the cows and the grapevines and stuff like that. So, guys, first of all, you have an authors, people who write books.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And this is a festival for them. Who can tell me how long has the festival been around and what is it?
It's been around 6 years. This is coming up on our 6th year.
Okay.
Although it took, a year and a half or so to do all the planning before the first one. So we've been doing this since 2016.
Okay. And how did it start, Ginny? What was that all about?
David was in financial services. I was in tech. We've only been married 15 years.
Oh, okay. You lovebirds. Congratulations. Look at that. Aren't you cute? Okay.
And David was going to retire, and we had the home in Kenwood that we'd been using as a second home. We decided to move up here full time.
Great.
And some friends of ours had introduced us to the Sun Valley Writers Conference, which is 25 years old. It's very well attended, very well known. It's kind of the template that everyone else uses to do something like this. And some friends of ours had invited us to go on a trip to that. And when David heard the word writer, he said, I'm not a writer. Why would I do that? And when I heard the word conference, I said, it sounds like work.
Right. Plenary sessions.
But they talked us into going anyway, and we loved it. It's kind of an immersion, a 3-day weekend where you're immersed and hearing authors from all different genres, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, biography, history.
Okay.
Some people even do science fiction and, all those things too. And we just wondered if there would be an appetite for something like that here in Sonoma.
Okay.
And I joked that David, I said, velocity needs a vector. He was going to be up at 5:30 every morning with his hair on fire, whether he had something to focus his energy on or not.
Right.
So it was a little bit of self-defense.
This was instead of getting the husband the woodworking shop in the garage.
Exactly, Tim.
Got an authors festival. So this is Sun Valley, Idaho.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's a summer festival.
In July, typically, every year. Yeah.
And that is interesting. Neither of you are from a background in writing or publishing, poetry.
No. We don't even spell very well.
We so enjoyed it, and it really was like a vacation with a purpose, that we said, this is something we can do that especially will attract people in our age group that have traveled a lot. I mean, it is a vacation with a purpose. You meet other people there, and it's very, very engaging. And, we've so far, some people have agreed with us.
Well, that's because it's only, you said this is your 6th year.
Yeah.
Coming up this April.
Mm-hmm. How do you get all, these aren't just like authors that are trying to become authors.
No,
these are published actual writers.
Yeah, you know what? Authors Festival is a misnomer. Mm-hmm. It is actually a lecture series, and it is for the attendees. Mm-hmm. There's no teaching. There's no anything that has to do with learning how to write or aspiring to be a writer. It is basically just for people that are curious. We say that we are lifelong learners, and we're always looking for life enrichment, and it's a way to have a totally different experience than you would normally have without traveling or anything. And so it's a series of what we call main tent sessions where all 400 people in the room hear one person speak, and then breakout sessions where we have different rooms with a different speaker in each room. So one person might want to hear about astrophysics, another one wants to hear about architecture, and another one wants to hear about the brain and how it works.
Right. Okay.
So
I was going to say, we're a little different from Sun Valley that really just focuses on literature. Being in the Bay Area, we have so much to choose from for science, technology, and medicine. We bring that in to diversify it. And think of it as a series of TED Talks over 3 days at the Sonoma Mission Inn.
Right.
Some were all together, some were in breakouts.
That's great. And it is sort of, I know the Ideas Festival, I think that name's already taken, so I can see Authors Festival.
Yeah.
But it just seems to be, it's not about books, it's about the ideas
of writing
and the conversation behind all that that's contained in those books.
Yeah.
And just, actually, I think I've got a list of people who are coming this year, and this, I know this list is subject to change, and I cleverly printed out on a piece of paper somewhere around here. Hold on. Well, I've got your reading list. Well, better yet, why don't you tell me who you know is coming this year while I look for this?
Sure. Well, I mean, just in no particular order, we have Isabel Allende, who's a wonderful novelist. She's on her 24th book. She sold over 75 million books and has a following really worldwide. I think how many 40 languages it's been translated into. We have Abraham Verghese, who's at Stanford, novelist, very well respected. Ada Limon, who I have a copy of her book here for you.
Yeah, so tell me about Ada Limon. Who is this person?
Well, Ada is from Sonoma. She is the Poet Laureate for 2023.
U.S.
Okay.
US Poet Laureate.
The U.S. official, not just for Sonoma.
No.
Not for Glen Ellen and Kenwood. We're getting a little bigger here.
Yeah, U.S. Poet Laureate.
It's huge.
That's big.
And she's speaking at the festival.
Okay.
She's speaking at Students' Day, and she's speaking at the free event Authors on the Plaza, which is Saturday, April 29th.
Let's take a sideways note on that real quickly.
Yeah.
I heard free event Authors on the Plaza.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
This was David's bright idea.
Here's another bright idea, David. He could have gotten a woodshop.
No, he's come up with these great ideas. Because we're restricted by size, there are no convention centers in Sonoma, and so we have to use the ballrooms of a hotel, and those only get to be so big.
Right.
So in order to be more inclusive and have as many people be able to hear these great authors when they're in town, David said, well, we have one of the world's most beautiful plazas, 8 acres of grass with, towering
beautiful trees all around and historic buildings.
Yeah, and why wouldn't it be great to have some of our authors that are here for the festival speak at the Plaza for free?
Right.
And we were lucky enough to have Chuck and Kathy Williamson, who were locals, underwrite it. And we went from about 500 people maybe the first year to 800 or so, and then we had over 1,000 sign up last year when we did the final head count. There was a lot of smoke that weekend farther north, and people weren't sure it was going to happen.
Right.
We didn't have the full 1,000 that we thought we would, but it was very close to that.
And it's right in front of City Hall. You guys kind of set up there.
Yeah.
Called the Horseshoe.
No, it's on the other side.
What's on the other side?
On the opposite side.
Okay.
Yeah, but people bring their blankets or their beach chairs, and it's free. It's family friendly. So whoever speaks,
the speaker will be able to all ages.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very family friendly. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we wanted to do. We have Dave Barry this year, who was with us last year. Great humorist.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So Dave Barry, back many years ago when I was a paperboy for the San Jose Mercury News.
Yeah.
I was Carrier of the Month twice. I would get...
I never became Carrier of the Month. I don't like you.
There's still time. I remember we would get the Sunday paper. We get the supplement on Saturdays delivered.
Right.
And I would always read Dave Barry.
Yes.
And I loved it. And my paper route manager would come up and he'd be like, Zonner, you're supposed to be delivering it, not reading it. And I'm like, that's so funny. And Dave Barry is such a great writer. I really enjoy his humor. So
he is hilarious.
That's good.
He's one of these people that's almost funny just to look at him.
Yeah, he has a kind of goofy haircut. He's always had
a haircut.
Yeah. But he is just hilarious. And actually, we had heard him speak at another festival, and we had tried to get him in the past. And then the year that we actually finally did get him, he was joking one time about living in Florida.
Right.
And he said, in Florida, you get up in the morning, you get your paper, you get your cup of coffee, you stop by the garage and put on your turn signal for the day. And so whenever we see somebody driving down the highway with their turn signal on, we say, he must be from Florida. And so sure enough, we saw some guy driving down 101 with his turn signal on. We said, we got to call Dave Barry.
It reminded you.
Yeah, so he came. He came last year.
You didn't really know. You got a hold of this guy.
He's back again this year.
And he's a well-known humorist, newspapers.
Pulitzer Prize winner.
Writes books. Friends
has
with Carl Hyacin.
He has a new book coming out. It's a novel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it set in Florida and everything goes sideways?
Swamp Story.
Swamp Story.
Wait, what's it called?
Swamp Story.
Swamp Story. Oh, that's apropos. Yeah, I see that here.
And I do want to mention for authors on the Plaza, we asked Readers Books to be the on-site bookseller.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And so we like to bring them into the equation. And we have Ada Limon, Dave Barry, and Abraham Verghese who will also be speaking this year.
At the Authors on the Plaza.
Authors on the Plaza.
And then, and circling back to who else is coming, now that I've got my the website up, I see like Danielle Feinberg is coming.
Oh, do you know her at all?
I just know from Pixar is what I
Yes.
read.
Yes. She is amazing, and she's will be quite a mentor or a motivational speaker at the high school.
Okay.
Because she talks about, as she was learning computer code and what have you, she was really good at it, but couldn't really find her niche as far as where that fit and where she could use that and really enjoy it.
Okay.
And so she ended up working at Pixar, and she actually has led an all-woman team.
Correct.
To being nominated for an Academy Award.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, the movie is called Turning Red.
Oh, yeah, my daughter saw that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
So we just saw it.
We just saw it.
Really incredible, the animation that did.
It's amazing.
It's I don't know how they do the animations. Obviously, I should listen to this woman, Danielle, who knows how to do it. Because I saw she has like a computer science degree from Harvard.
Right.
Maybe that's what helps.
Yeah.
But it blows your mind how amazing and lifelike and interesting and both cartoony but not at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
It's pretty crazy. I see some other authors that are coming. Soyoung Lee.
Go ahead, honey. Yeah. Go ahead.
Soyoung Lee is a fascinating woman. I want to say she was born in Indonesia, but raised in South Korea.
Okay.
She is the curator of the entire Harvard Museum collections, which is the 6th largest in the
United States.
Of like
the United States.
All their music.
All of their collections.
So she's the head
museum
person.
Yeah, huge job.
Okay.
And it's the first time that we've had someone sort of in that category. She's written books on the Korean art history.
Okay.
But she's a lovely woman, and we are very excited about having her.
That's pretty, that's a good get.
It is a good get. It's a little different, but she be very, very impressive. Very lovely person. And Stephen Kotkin is another person that's coming. He was 31 years at Princeton. He's a historian.
Okay.
He's written several books. The last 2 are on Stalin. He's a real expert on Russia.
Okay.
And he tells the funny story. The books are 850 pages, but his wife tells everyone they read like they're 650.
But what he talks about are the remarkable parallels between Stalin and Putin. That's what gets you.
And that's what historians are kind of good at, framing the present with the past and anchoring it.
Right. And, fasten your seatbelt,
Well, as we know, things
coming.
with Stalin were very quiet, huh? Yeah, geez. So that sounds like that'd be a good historian to have.
And he's a wonderful professor, a wonderful teacher. He's really good.
And so people like this are part of the breakout sessions?
He'll do a main tent.
We've
heard.
And so when people get a pass, do they buy a pass to the whole festival?
Yes.
Okay.
Logistically, we just can't manage having, we only have 400 seats, and then to turn those over either by the hour or by the day, logistically,
it's like a movie festival is a little different.
Yeah.
Multiple theaters.
Right.
1.5 hour increments.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So you got to buy the whole block, and you're there meeting all these smart people.
Yeah.
Tell me, where do people come from?
No, I was going to just say, because it's relatively small, Tim, with 400 people. Sun Valley has 1,500, a big amphitheater, which I wish we had. Not that big, but half that big. They really get to know one another. The authors are comfortable coming out, having breakfast and lunch with the attendees, and
so they interact.
We've been told, and it's nothing we do, but we've been told people really feel like they connect with other people there, which has been very gratifying. And I don't know how it happens, but that we've been told it happens.
in spite of your best efforts. Having a good time and talking.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it is our audience is very well educated, well traveled, curious, engaged, open to new ideas.
And that's what I want to find out.
Blessed.
Where are they coming from? Who are these people?
Well, we get about 45% from the greater Sonoma area.
Okay.
About 45% from the greater Bay Area, and about 10% out of state. And the out of state is growing. Okay. We're doing more both advertising but also editorial on the festival with Modern Luxury, 3 of their magazines, San Francisco Magazine, Angelino Magazine for Los Angeles, and Silicon Valley. Okay. And so it's and the best way we get exposure, Tim, is to actually invite these individuals to experience the festival. Right. Because if you just describe it, it may not be as, I know it's not as interesting as actually experiencing it. Believe me.
But you do a good job.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I want to go. But I also know I saw on your website some pretty good videos and discussions about it and how people were there. So, it's only the 6th year. So maybe by the time it's the 7th, 8th, 10th year, people will be flying in from all over.
Well, we don't know.
We've had a big fire. We've had 2 fires and a pandemic. We hope the next 6 years are a little bit easier.
Wait, what? Get out of here. Yeah, you guys definitely started. It's been 6 years. That's right. And it is kind of interesting that the amount of resilience Sonoma Valley and
I would agree with
has gone through. We've definitely learned our lessons, I guess, and gotten stronger of it. But
it's remarkable. Well, and actually, because of the pandemic, we were all ready to roll in May of 2020, and as you know, in March of 2020, everything ground to a halt. So when we had to reschedule that festival, we actually did it virtually that year because we already had all the speakers lined up. And so we went ahead and did it virtually. And we all had to learn
Zoom in a hurry, right?
You bet.
That's true.
And then we have to do it when the kids are in school. We'll mention Students' Day here in just a second. But we either need to do it in May before school lets out or in August right when it starts up again.
Got it. Okay.
And so when we rescheduled from May the first time, we rescheduled to August, and then the year after that, the hotel was already booked in May, so we did it in August again. So we're going back to May. Actually, it's April 28th through the 30th.
So the hope is to be sort of like early May, late April.
At
that point.
So
which
that's
is good because the weather's nice, but it's not too hot.
Exactly.
And you're kind of not competing with the wedding season as much.
Exactly.
It's a bit of a shoulder season if we have one.
Well,
exactly.
Tell me about, you mentioned the schools a few times here. So is there a component was it Sonoma Valley High or at one of the local schools, or what is the story there?
Again, this is David's brilliance.
Well, that's a little overstated.
She is your best PR person. I will tell you
that's a little overstated. Well, we wanted to do something for the students, and basically we take, depending on the year, 8 to 10, 12 of our authors to the Sonoma High School in main tent in the gymnasium or breakout sessions, and they can be motivational, they can be great novelists, and they speak to the students. It's from 8 to 3 on Friday, and then we give away between 3,000 and 4,000 books each year written by the presenting authors to the students free.
Great.
And we have to give a shout out to many of our sponsors, but at the top of the list is Les and Judy Vedez and the Vedez Family Foundation, and also Janet Hansen, who's the librarian and co-head of the English department, who really has helped spearhead it over at Sonoma Valley High School.
Yes. Which I have to say, the obligatory Go Dragons.
Go Dragons.
That's really amazing that, we are a rural place. We're not a big town. That you're able to bring in world-class thinkers and authors and writers. I certainly didn't have that in high school. And to have so many on one day, that's great.
It is amazing.
That's smart.
And they're different types. I mean, some are just, somebody like a Sylvia Lovato, who's a fascinating woman. She had a very successful career with Google. She had a very difficult childhood, both physically and emotionally. And to deal with the demons, she decided to climb the 7 highest mountains in the world, which she did.
Okay.
And so she's, I don't know, maybe 50 now, I don't know. But, I mean, she's a wonderful story. It's called, Climbing the Mountain. Right. And so she's great. So she's inspirational, whether you're our age or students,
or like a 17-year-old, they can kind of put themselves in that.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's pretty
well,
good.
And some of the other speakers, our very first year, we were fortunate to get astronaut Scott Kelly.
Oh, really?
Who had just
Arizona.
Circled
Yes.
the.
Yeah. His
No,
brother.
that's Mark Kelly.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
But the twins.
Twins.
Oh, with the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that.
So, astronaut Scott Kelly had just solo circled the Earth 360. He'd been in orbit 360 days.
Wow.
And while he was there, he took spectacular photographs of Earth from space. And so when we first were working on setting things up at the high school, we realized that the audio visual that was existing was not going to do justice to those photos.
Right.
And it was going to be hard for everybody to hear. And so this is partly where there's a huge investment in bringing in audio-visual equipment so these kids can hear clearly and see clearly.
Oh, very cool.
So it's part of the expense that, a lot of people don't realize. But these kids came out of their chairs to see the astronaut. He wore the whole.
Oh, did he bring his outfit?
Yeah,
his astronaut outfit.
Well, he didn't bring the spacesuit, but he
like
has
his,
a uniform.
He
has
NASA,
his NASA uniform, and
that would be kind of funny though to see him in his space outfit on Broadway.
I know, carrying a little box.
Exactly.
It looks like his little personal sandbox.
Big helmet on it.
Yeah, whatever it was. But anyway, he was one of them. On one of the other ones that's just been a huge hit at the high school is an astrophysicist named Alex Filippenko.
Okay.
Alex has been voted the best teacher at UC Berkeley over 9 times.
Oh, wow.
People absolutely love his course, and we joke to people that don't know him that he sort of looks and talks like Robin Williams, except about astrophysics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he absolutely had the room so filled that there were kids not only standing in the back, but they were sitting on the stairs.
Amazing.
Listening to this lecture.
And he's an actual professor at Cal.
Oh, yeah. And he's been on 2 different teams that won Nobel Prizes in astrophysics.
And that's, so again, go Dragons. That kind of experience isn't something you would normally get at a small town high school.
Exactly.
That is great.
And share the story about Alex reaching out to that one student.
So
this is a great story.
I was trying to sit in the most inconspicuous place, the first student's day, and to hear the lecture and just see how it goes.
Right.
And after the lecture was over and the room had mostly cleared out, there were still, half a dozen kids that wanted to talk to Alex individually. And the last guy, finally got up and he said, I've been accepted at XYZ University into their physics program, and I've been offered sort of this advanced program.
Okay.
And he said, I'm afraid I'm going to get in over my head. He goes, it's such an honor to be offered it, but I'm just really anxious. And Alex looked him in the eye and said, by the types of questions you asked during my lecture, you are absolutely ready.
Okay.
You should join that program, and if you get stuck, you call me, and I will help you out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, I was almost in tears.
Oh,
Because you just think that could be a pivotal moment.
Yeah, for that kid.
In some kid's career and life, that one person said, you got it.
No, he did it.
You got this.
And you know what? Maybe 10, 15 years from now, you'll be booking that kid on the Authors Fest.
That's true.
He's inventing something amazing.
I know.
Or whatever.
No.
So I love this whole idea. The kids get involved. The public can get involved. If you're really into it, of course, you should buy a ticket at, Sonoma, svauthorfest.org.
Yes.
And get it in there. But are tickets on sale now?
Yeah, okay. Sponsorships are available now, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to touch on, many people don't realize, Tim, the cost to put this on. And I'll only touch on that because, A, the authors don't come here just to make more friends. They come here to sell books, and if we try to get them when the book's been out coming out or very recently
because
coming
all
out.
fresh books.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the whole idea.
Right.
And so it's the cost to bring them. We invite their spouse. We have a dinner for them on Saturday night just for the authors because they like to get together.
Okay.
We have the transportation, the hotels, the audio visual.
Right.
I mean, it just goes on and on.
It is not an inexpensive endeavor.
It's not, and any hotel, as you know, it's 24% gratuity and whatever is 10% tax. So it's just a big nut.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
It's a big nut.
You sound like someone who works in finance.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is.
It's but we are a 501c3
So that's my
nonprofit.
There's the ability for people, if they want to support this, they can donate to this.
Oh,
Is that correct?
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
no.
I'm looking on the website right now. You have a section called Support Us. Is that what the information is on that?
Yeah.
And anyone from like a large corporation, like Google, if you're listening, Facebook. Now,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody. We never close.
Exactly. We're ready.
Yeah. Let me give you my home note.
Yeah.
So and people have been sponsoring and getting involved.
Yes.
As your track record gets bigger, I'm sure. Again, by the time it's the 10th year, it brought to you by whoever.
Right.
An interesting statistic, I guess, is, we do some social media. We certainly do print media. But the best way people come to this is a one-on-one invitation. Mm-hmm. It's much like how we came to it. Mm-hmm. And I said to Roy, why would I come? I'm not a writer. He said, trust me, I like it. That is how you grow this. And it's slow, but it's also very effective, assuming we do a good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
90%, we have surveys that we have people fill out, evaluations, tell us what we can do better.
Right.
And how did you hear about us? And 90% of the people said word of mouth.
Really?
Through a friend.
That's kind of the way to do it.
So it's interesting. But meanwhile, back at the nonprofit part, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're a public charity. We don't take a salary. We work out of our home. We have no employees. It's just the two of us.
Am I looking at the employees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a fabulous team of independent contractors that do whatever part they need to do when they need to do it.
Right.
And we are blessed with them and amazing volunteers also.
Oh, are there opportunities for people to volunteer?
You know what? We're already full for this year.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. And
it's always on the website, a volunteer section. It's closed, but it'll open up again in January of next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can volunteer funds, though, if you want to.
Yeah, that's 365, 24/7.
No, but when we say a sponsorship, it includes a donation component.
Okay.
And so because otherwise we could just never. We still haven't quite made ends meet. They wave at each other.
Well, they say to plant a vineyard. Once you plant vines, it takes like 7 years before you get wine in the bottle. Yeah. So there's kind of that long lead there.
Yeah.
Let me ask, what kind of books do you enjoy reading, or what kind of ideas, if it's an ideas thing? Like, what do you?
Well, I have always enjoyed historical novels.
Okay.
But it's interesting, having had the pleasure to be introduced to Isabel Allende in particular, and reading some of her novels, which are really historical fiction with wonderful research. I've really gotten hooked on that sort of a book. And of course, Amor Towles, that sort of a novel.
Yeah, did he? So the Lincoln Highway.
Yeah.
And then was he? He wasn't Devil in the White City. That was
no, that was Eric Larson.
Eric Larson. Sorry.
Yes.
Did he also come to the authors?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so I thought
last year.
I'm mixing up the two years.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I love those type of books. But as far as pure fiction. I mean, Isabel does such a wonderful job with that. It's very easy because you feel like you're there. So it's same with Amor Towles or Eric Larson.
You can get immersed in that world very easily.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I was always one to read nonfiction. I guess I don't know, kind of my background. I was always having to stay up to date on technical stuff. And didn't read that much fiction, but recently I have really enjoyed it. And I also read something that said it helps your brain more.
Really?
That fiction, because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Okay.
And it's not,
You're not thinking the sequential kind
exactly. You're looking for patterns or whatever.
Okay.
It's always...
It gives you that break from that.
Yeah.
It probably helps you in work.
Yeah.
Or in life later.
Yeah, exactly. But I joke that, I should have been a scientist. When you pull up my pant leg, there's a little white sock, like I needed to have on a white uniform or work in a clean room or something. Right. But I am fascinated by the science and technology parts. And one of our speakers the very first year was a man named Pedro Irizarry, he was an electrical engineer with a wide knowledge of biology. And he worked on implantable devices. And this was years ago. It was our first year. And he was talking about implanting into a nerve, a gland, or an organ, a little device that would be triggered, and it would help things like epileptic seizures, post-traumatic syndrome, post-traumatic stress,
depression.
Yeah, depression.
I know they've been working on that for Parkinson's, I think.
Yes, for all kinds of things.
A lot of work.
Well, your vagus nerve controls a lot of things, and implanting that in your vagus nerve, and it seems to have more and more activity.
People become
as
more
time
and more
goes
aware
on.
of it. It's interesting. My wife is in the medical field, and our house is littered with books and studies on those things. And oftentimes they're open to like the most disgusting photo. And I'm like, we need to shut down the old dissection photo here. We're at the kitchen table. But it is interesting what's happening in the medical world. And that's cool that you had someone to come talk about that.
And we just, last year we had Dr. David Eagleman, who studies the brain. And it was absolutely fascinating to hear him talk. And we just heard him speak again recently. And he's working on a new talk, and he actually is going to come to the festival.
Oh, good. Okay, nice.
But his new research has to do with our brains and how they form opinions. And how we form political opinions, and why we get so upset when other people's
how could you think that way?
Don't match up with ours. So
I would love to hear
I can't wait to hear this new lecture.
Does he have a new book coming out as part of that lecture, or is this going to be a separate?
He doesn't, but many of people have seen his series on PBS and the BBC called The Brain. That was very popular, and he was nominated for Pulitzer Prize for his book on the brain. So he's very talented. He's at Stanford. Very talented.
Local-ish. Very good. We are lucky to have in our backyard Stanford and all the universities and all the technology and stuff, because Idaho's pretty far from all that stuff. You got to so that's the way it is. Do you know another thing to say? 'Cause I'm going to have you help me out to answer some other questions if you're ready.
Ready.
All right, and then we'll come back and talk about stuff. But as you all know, dear listeners, we have a section of the podcast called We Get Questions. So thank you. Thank you, because I can license that. I can afford to license that. So here's what we do. We run 2 visitor centers. And we get all sorts of questions. We also have Facebook, Instagram, all the local stuff. People text us, and they ask us all sorts of different questions. My job, every time I have a new podcast guest come in, is to ask them questions that they probably don't know the answer to, but I don't know the answer either. So we just sort of fudge our way through it.
Good.
Okay? But the good news is, at the visitor centers, we actually have professional staff.
Yes.
And they do know the answers.
They do. I've been there. They do a good job.
But we'll get it. So you guys ready to help me?
Yes.
Here's one we got today. It was a little confusing because the man was from Rhode Island, but he was talking about Long Island.
Oh.
Okay.
So we were trying to figure out what the heck he was talking about. And then neither of those is actually an island anymore, but it doesn't matter. He goes, ready? How are the grapes grown in Sonoma Valley different from those grown in places like Long Island, New York?
Well, I would answer that just simply, certainly not having been in that business gratefully, that it is a matter
of other ways to dispose of our hard-earned money.
I would say it has to do with the climate and the soil. Those two dictate the quality of the fruit and the taste of the fruit, and that's what drives it. And the winemaker, if he's good or she's good, does very little to screw that up.
Get out of the way. Have either of you lived in New York or New York area?
I lived in New York for 15 years.
Okay. And so New York gets cold.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen about New York, based upon extensive research on movies, is that it's full of yellow cabs and dirty water dogs and people that talk with Brooklyn accents. Is that correct? Is that 100%?
Yeah, I don't know if that's politically correct, but that's
Bronx accents. Mainly it was a bunny talking with this accent. So my research. But so Long Island did have grapes. because obviously, the European pattern of development started on the East Coast of the United States. They put grapes there first, Virginia, stuff like that.
And they're pretty hardy. They'll grow anywhere.
My understanding is they grow some of the same grapes, but a lot of different style grapes that would actually make it.
Right.
Because we're at the same latitudinal level of like Spain and parts of like France nearby, or roughly. But the upper East Coast is pretty cold and miserable and full of black flies and mud. I'm really selling it, aren't I? So they grow different grapes. I do know the Ohio Valley, they grow different grapes, like a Catawba grape. But interesting, and ready for an interesting fact, is that the first Ravenswood winery, there was a winery called Ravenswood, was near Long Island. And this was like about 201 of that, long time ago.
Wow.
And that was the area around there. I heard this from Joel Peterson back when he was with Ravenswood Winery. He might have been lying to me, because Joel and he's known to tell me stories, but that's what he told me. So
that's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And you guys live in Kenwood, so you see lots of grapes.
Yes, we do.
And right now they're pruning the grapes. They're giving them a little haircut, which sets them up for the next time. And predominantly up by you guys, there is some Cabernet, but Merlot, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. We tend to have more French varietals. Some Spanish varietals here, some Italian, but French are the ones that really get promoted. And varietal is just a fancy way of saying type. Yeah. I don't know why we don't say types. Varietal.
Because
Yeah, we can charge a little
French,
more.
Yeah.
All right, that was good. All right, now have you had people come visit you since you've been here?
Oh, yeah.
Like people from out of town?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
And they're sitting on your couch. Like, God, will you go home? And they probably buy wine, right?
Yep.
So here's the question we get. We bought a lot of wine while we are here and want to ship it back home. How do we do this?
Well, usually where you buy it, if you buy it at the vineyard, they'll ship it, assuming that you're in a state that will accept it, and you don't have to go through a state-controlled liquor board.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one. And if you buy it at Sonoma Market, I would go to a kind of a USP store.
Right.
UPS
store, and they have the containers, and they will charge you probably more than the wine cost to ship it for you.
Right.
You are correct.
Yeah.
You are this. What? I'm going to get you guys working at the visitor center. So essentially, a lot of people are surprised to find this out. You can't just drop wine in the mail like you can a letter.
No.
Right?
No.
It's really weird. And
it's very controlled.
This harkens back to Prohibition days and each state making their own rules and not wanting to, the good citizens of Pennsylvania, Kentucky, or Indiana could not be unduly influenced by California's devil wines.
Right.
So it was mainly about protectionism of their own industries. But so you're right. You can't just drop it in. So sometimes the wineries will do it and they'll handle it, but they'll ask you where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
And surprisingly, people don't know this. Every state has different rules. So
Absolutely.
Each winery often has to negotiate
with every single
with what state they want to ship to and if it's worth the hassle.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But there is a couple businesses that will ship. The UPS will sometimes do it. There's a company, they're actually over on the Napa side called Buffalo Shipping. They specialize in wine. So especially if you bought wine from a lot of different wineries, and you don't have a case, but you have 3 bottles here and 6 bottles here, they'll pack it up for you and ship it. There's also a company called the Wine Check. They make a piece of luggage.
Yes.
That's a case of wine that you can check in with your luggage as long as it's packed correctly.
Yeah.
And it's on a little roller there. And so you can not just ship it, but it will come back as luggage. So that's an answer. But do not try to ship wine and act like it's not wine.
Right.
Because the government will find you.
And don't carry it on.
Do not carry it on. Or otherwise, who's the TSA? They'll be enjoying your Cabernet.
Yeah.
Don't put it in your suitcase.
Exactly. Oh, that's a common error. You can put it in the suitcase. We do sell these these little sleeves.
Right.
And you can wrap it up and seal it twice.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. But do not think you can just throw it next to your socks.
Yes.
And they're going to make it.
Or your $2,000 Brioni suit.
No, because the baggage claim people, they can sense when there's a glass bottle in there and they'll jump on it.
Yeah.
Just for fun. So we have on the northern part of the plaza, the Mission. It's the last mission built in California. We had 20 Spanish missions. This is actually the only one that was the Mexican mission, so the 21st mission. But Mexican had independence from Spain at the time. And someone said, I would like to get a photo of the inside of the mission. What's the best way to do that?
No idea.
No idea?
No idea.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going
to go to the Visitors Bureau.
Great answer. For $3, you can get access to the inside of the mission and take a photo.
Oh, really?
So that's an easy one, right?
Yeah,
it's a cute little mission church. It's very small. So if you want to take your own photo, but otherwise, you're right. You can go to the visitor center. We do have postcards. You can go to the Barracks gift store, which is just next to the mission, where the Mexican soldiers were living in the barracks. They have a really great bookstore there, and also a gift shop, and it's fantastic. You want some Sonoma swag or shirt or something like that? It's a good spot. So yeah, you can go do that. And the $3 not only gets you into the mission, it gets you into the General Vallejo house, which is about a half mile away.
Yep.
It also gets you into what's called Casa Grande, which is in Petaluma. So about 20 minutes away was his other big house, hence Casa Grande. And it's beautiful. It's a good spot out there. So, okay, here's a final question. This one's hard. Ginny, you ready?
Yeah.
This one's hard. I like books and stories. Are there any good literary places in and around Sonoma Valley?
Well, Reader's Books
good answer.
is the best. It is the heart and soul of Sonoma and has been run forever since, the 70s.
It's a little bookstore off the plaza.
Yeah.
It's by the Weinbergs.
Yeah, and then
Lila has passed away, but Andy is still. Not only is Andy still owns and runs the bookstore, he has started writing books.
Oh, really?
Yes,
And they bring
mystery
in
novels.
Oh, that's great.
And he has a whole series of them. I'm 3 or 4 by now.
Oh, I got to get him on the podcast. I didn't know
you
that.
should.
You should, yeah.
You should.
Okay.
They're great.
That's a good one.
You know, and I would add, one of the great gifts to this community is Jack London's home. Jack London Park. It's not just named after him. That's where he lived. That's where he lived the last, I think, 8 or 10 years of his life. He wrote there. He died there.
Yeah.
And so that is a great piece of tourism.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that. That's up in Glen Ellen, not far from Kenwood.
Yeah.
And an easy place to get to. And if you're into literature, you can see where he was. You can see where his wife Charmian, she was a writer herself. You can see all the work there. You can also see he was a farmer.
Yes.
And he was trying new things out.
Yeah.
Quite an adventurous man. He had quite a life. And you can see his final resting place is there as well.
Yep.
And if you like hiking, it's a great hike.
Yes.
It's a good spot from outdoors.
And let's not forget our Sonoma Library. They do a wonderful job.
Okay.
And they have all kinds of offerings for adults, for children, for special programs. They're always doing something special for Black History Month.
Yep.
I'm sure for Women's History Month.
Got a lot of good thematic.
They're just fabulous.
It's funny because our visitor center is a former Carnegie library. So,
yes, I knew that.
When Carnegie had a lot of money, he started giving it away, and all these little towns got libraries. It's a great library, but unfortunately, it'd be really small for a modern day library. So the modern day library is it's right across from the studio we're in right now, and it's amazing what they've done there. Even we're starting to outgrow that space, but there's meeting rooms. They have lectures in there. If you don't have access to the internet, you can go in there. You can even borrow internet access. And go there. If you're an out-of-towner, they have different exhibits on things. Libraries are kind of like a forgotten resource for travelers, but they are really well-loved and a key part of a community, I think.
They really are.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. The final, a good literary one, if people like food, there was a food writer named M.F.K. Fisher.
Yes.
Right.
And her house is above Kenwood, and that's occasionally open, and they also have a food contest called the Last House Food Writing Contest that they do up there with MFK Fisher and up there. So there's kind of this literary, themes here. And I think, those are good. You guys did a great job. See? So look, you can come volunteer in your free time when you don't want to do the wood shop.
Yeah.
Or you want to get away from the wood shop. It's a good way to come in here. So that was good. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. You guys are great.
Well, thank you, Tim.
I want to, again, if people want more information, where do they go to find it about the Authors Festival? And especially if any of our large benefactors are listening and they want to support the Authors Festival, how do they get more information?
Well, obviously you can call us.
Okay.
415-830-1700 is my cell phone.
Okay.
But on the website we have videos, we have past authors. We've had over 110 authors. It's svauthorsfest.org. Pricing for the sponsorships, details, volunteer, although that's closed now. So just tons of information.
And all the upcoming, because I see more speakers might be announced.
We keep posting them. For instance, Dr. Eagleman isn't out there yet. We just got a confirmation.
Of course, Jeffrey Brown will be with us, but also Brett Stevens of the New York Times just agreed to speak with us. So we're very pleased about that. We've heard him several times before at other locations. He's excellent.
Okay, so when people want to come, svauthors.org this year, it's April 28th through the 30th at the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn in Sonoma, but they should sign up. You could probably have an email list or something and get all the information.
Absolutely.
And we'll learn more about it.
See it.
You guys are wonderful. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Tim. A real pleasure.
You bet it. And everybody listening, especially hi, Mom and Dad, remember, comment, subscribe, tell everybody about it, and we'll see you soon in Sonoma Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.